You know a car is special when it doesn't just define a decade, it defines an entire movement. And in the mid-60s, one vehicle rolled off the assembly line and into American legend, with its long hood, short deck, and a design that screamed speed even while parked at a broken bar. The 1965 Ford Mustang Fastback wasn't just a car, it was a revolution on four wheels. Welcome to Autoscope, the garage where icons come alive and legends never gather dust. We break down the machines that changed the way we drive, the stories behind them, and why they still matter today. Today, we're shifting into gear and taking a deep, winding cruise into one of the most beloved muscle icons of all time, the 1965 Ford Mustang Fastback. It's April 17, 1964. The New York World's Fair is buzzing. Crowds swarm the Ford Pavilion, and there it is, a sleek, shiny, powerful, and affordable. The Mustang is born. But what came later that year, what truly turned heads and widened eyes, was the Fastback model. With its sporty silhouette and racing pedigree, the 65 Mustang Fastback took the Mustang name from pop culture icon to performance legend. Compared to the coupe and convertible models, the Fastback was in a league of its own. The roofline swooped aggressively to the rear bumper. Those iconic side vents, not just cosmetic, they were inspired by racing aerodynamics. It had a presence, a stance that said, "Let's go." This wasn't just a car for daily drives. This was a car that looked like it belonged on the track. And under the hood, well, the options were as bold as the body. Buyers could choose from a wide range of engines, from the humble 170 cubic inch inline six to the snarling, tire-shredding 289 HiPo V8. That 289, it pushed 271 horsepower, and when paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, you had yourself a full-blown street fighter. The 289 high-performance V8, also known as the K-Code engine, wasn't just about raw power. It had solid lifters, heavy-duty valve springs, a bigger carburetor, and a dual-point distributor. What that means, it could rev high, hit harder, and last longer under stress. This engine wasn't for your average Sunday cruiser. It was for the enthusiast who wanted to feel the road. But it wasn't just power, it was balance. The 65 Fastback had improved suspension geometry over earlier models. You had independent front suspension with coil springs and a live rear axle. Sounds simple today, but back then, this setup gave the Mustang surprisingly agile handling. Throw it into a corner, and the Fastback held its own. It wasn't a corner carver like European sports cars, but it was far more composed than anyone expected from a $2,500 American muscle machine. The GT equipment package was a game-changer. Introduced in 1965, it transformed the Mustang into a more focused performance car. GT Fastbacks got front disc brakes, dual exhausts with chrome tips, grille-mounted fog lights, and a 5-dial instrument cluster. It didn't just look the part, it acted it too. Want to know how serious Ford was about the Fastback? They partnered with racing legends. Shelby took the 65 Fastback and turned it into the GT350. Stripped out, tuned up, and track-ready, the Shelby GT350 was a Mustang bred to win. And when it did, dominating SCCA racing and cementing the Fastback's performance credentials. You see, the Fastback wasn't just a car people bought, it was a car they raced, a car they customized, a car they dreamed about. And here's the magic, Ford knew exactly what they were doing. They built the Fastback to look fast, feel fast, and be accessible. Teenagers, young professionals, even housewives, everyone wanted in on the Mustang movement. And with the Fastback, Ford gave them something a little edgier, a broken bar a little meaner, a broken bar a little more alive. Let's shift gears for a moment, and talk about pop culture. The 65 Mustang Fastback became an icon on screen and on the streets. Its follow-up, the 67 Fastback, got the Hollywood limelight and bullet, but the 65 paved the way. It gave Mustang that street credibility, the look, the sound, and the attitude. And in the decades since, it's become a collector's dream. But what is it like to own one today? Well, it's part pleasure, part responsibility. The parts are out there, the community is massive, and the car is as engaging now as it was 60 years ago. That V8 rumble, the non-assisted steering, the feedback through the seat and the wheel. It's not just nostalgia, it's analog bliss, a raw, mechanical conversation between man and machine. And the values, they've climbed. A well-preserved or properly restored 65 Fastback can fetch serious cash, especially K-Code GT models or anything with Shelby DNA. But even base Fastbacks are cherished not just for their rarity, but for their soul. So what made it so special? It was the perfect blend. The 65 Fastback offered style, speed, and spirit. It didn't pretend to be something it wasn't. It was what people wanted, and in doing so, it became timeless. This was a car that didn't just belong to a generation, it defined it. From cruising down Pacific Coast Highway to screaming down the quarter mile, the 1965 Mustang Fastback earned its stripes, one burnout at a time. And now, as it sits in garages, on display at shows, or tearing up vintage racing circuits, it reminds us what driving used to be about: a connection, passion, and freedom. That's why the 1965 Mustang Fastback isn't just a classic, it's a movement frozen in steel. And at Autoscope, we'll always bring you closer to the machines that made us feel something. If you've ever heard the rumble of a V8 and felt goosebumps, you know exactly what we're talking about. If you like this ride through history, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, drop your favorite Mustang memory in the comments, and subscribe to Autoscope, where legends live and engines never stop. Because here, we don't just talk cars, we talk icons. Until next time, keep the tires hot and the revs high.